Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing? Now, you can all hear me up the back? I may be a little bit hoarse because I was shouting at the telly last night. I've come from Tweed Heads and it was close. But never mind. That was going to be my story about resilience, so I had to, at the last minute, change to something else. But Mindstore, as you can probably tell, it's all about the mind. It's about using our mind, changing our thoughts in order to be more, improve our performance and to be able to develop resilience. And I always have a wee look at something that happened on this day in history, and I was really gunning for the blues to link it to what we're talking about. But I also found out that, has anybody been watching Wimbledon? Or there's nobody watching it because there's no Aussies anymore in it? And Andy Murray's still in, by the way. Good Scot. On this day in history in 1975, there was a bit of an example of resilience from a chap called Arthur Ashe. Some of you may have heard of him. You know, he was 31 at the time. He was considered well past his prime. And he had won lots of trophies, but he hadn't won Wimbledon. It was his passion, his desire to win at Wimbledon. And he was up against Jimmy Connors. And probably some of you will remember Jimmy with the long hair and the grunting and stuff like that, one of the first to do all that. And he'd beaten Arthur 3 times in the last 3 meetings. So the bookies didn't expect Arthur to win. Jimmy Connors thought he just had to turn up. And the crowd expected Arthur Ashe to get beaten as well. But he had this burning desire to win. Not just to win it because it was the ultimate tennis championship, but because he would have become the first black man in Wimbledon's history, which at that time was 98 years, to win. And there's a little clip on YouTube when you'll see one of the breaks between the matches where they sit down in between the umpire and they have a Coke or a Robinson's barley water or that sort of juice that they have. And Jimmy Connors is sort of strutting around and thinks he owns the place. And Arthur Ashe sits down on his seat and he closes his eyes and there's a sort of flickering sort of thing going on behind his eyes. And later on he explains what he was doing. He was actually taking time out to de-stress from the situation and to focus his mental ability on what he was going to do to defeat Jimmy, to play to Jimmy Connors' weaknesses, to serve him junk, as he said, and not good shots, and to ultimately get to that goal, which was to win against all the odds. So it's no surprise I'm talking about this, but ultimately, to the shock of the crowd and all the commentators, he eventually beat Jimmy Connors and went on to lift the trophy. And I thought that was a good example of resilience.